I always tell the same story. If you think for 1 second that when your child, your loved one goes missing,
This place is definitely a place of interest.
And you could still smell it.
that like 5 officers are gonna run out of the station, jump in their cars, and immediately start looking.
Native nations, please come help.
I know he's laying there all alone, wherever he is, and he just needs to be found.
That's not how it happens.
We grew up in Newtown, North Dakota. She moved off, went to school for different things, but she always ended up coming back. Got the kids ready for school every day, hang out with friends downtown when it was possible. She was just very family-oriented, very sociable, she got along with just about everybody. October 26th, I started seeing, Malachi, who is the eldest brother, putting stuff out on Facebook. Hey, have you seen Olivia? Have you seen Olivia? She always checks in, always know where Olivia is at. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, if they're looking on Facebook and not getting any answers, it's pretty serious.
Olivia Lone Bear was last seen in Newtown, North Dakota, driving a friend's truck on October 24th, 2017. 9 months later, authorities pulled that truck out of Lake Sakakawea, about a half a mile away from the house the 32-year-old lived in with her father and children. Her body was inside. 9 months. A team of law enforcement agencies. An exhaustive family-led search with the support of thousands on Facebook. And ultimately, Olivia was found by a volunteer the family had disavowed months earlier.
I thought, well, nobody owns the lake.
It's a complicated story, but when you consider the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and how often their cases are left unsolved by a system that limits the power of tribal agencies, in a lot of ways, it's not an unusual one.
I want to put a call out for anyone that is available to come help us search. We definitely were already against the clock because usually, it's not uncommon for kids to be running around with a snowsuit underneath their costume in October 31st around here because it's already snowing sometimes, So we just hit the ground running. We try to get as much done as possible. If there's any tracks out there, anything like that, being out there. We had to do it fast though because this reservation, is like just shy of 1 million acres, so we had to cover a lot of ground really fast. Search and rescue teams from surrounding agencies as well as other tribes have come to assist, but ongoing ground, water, and aerial support are still immensely needed.
Do you know, I guess off the top of your head, all of the agencies that you worked with throughout this process?
I'd probably name most of them, BCI, Tribal PD, BIA, Ward County, Williams County, North Dakota Game and Fish, North Dakota Highway Patrol, Tribal Game and Fish, Burley County too. There were law enforcement pointing fingers, they're pointing fingers. We've been pushing for a water search this year and the FBI to step in. And the FBI put out a statement saying, well, it varies on how we're gonna work with missing families. It varies between reservation to reservation, it varies from state to state. It's a coin toss. Maybe we will, maybe we won't.
You've got all these legal barriers that prevent the tribes themselves from taking action. And those are all limits that have been placed on tribes by the federal government.
By submitting to the overriding sovereignty of the United States, Indian tribes necessarily gave up their power to try non-Indian citizens of the United States except in a manner acceptable to Congress.
That's audio from the 1978 Supreme Court case that drastically limited the authority tribal agencies have over non-Native people, even on reservation land. Tribal authorities are also limited in sentencing felonies like murder or kidnapping.
So when you have a tribal legal system that doesn't have enough power, when Native women go missing, there's a limit to what tribes can do.
And Native people, women in particular, are going missing and facing violence to a degree that it's been called an epidemic.
Native women who have endured generations of systematic violence, who are 10 times more likely to be murdered and 4 times more likely to be sexually assaulted when compared to the national average.
And the stats that the federal government puts out say that 84% of Native women will experience violence. 84%, that means the vast majority of Native women can expect to be victims during their life.
And those are just the numbers we do know.
There's no official database or requirement for information collecting regarding the number of missing and murdered Native women.
But a quick search on social media with the hashtag MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, shows these cases are happening with alarming frequency, and their investigations rely on the cooperation of some combination of tribal, local, state, and federal agencies.
Just researching all these different situations, and it's going to be difficult with law enforcement. That's always the common issue between all of them. They don't ever jump in time. They don't put their resources towards it. I kind of expected all that.
Sometimes, law enforcement wouldn't even put a poster up. Well, now we can put our own posters up. Social media is a wonderful, wonderful gift.
We've asked Lissa to speak also. Lissa has been in this field for a while, and she's really put her heart and soul into a lot of this work.
For me, I live it, talk it, breathe it. These are for the new ones. It's amazing just to keep those people's names and different things on the tip of your tongue and keep repeating that. Someone's going to catch that. Someone's going to know a piece of the puzzle that may, but you got to keep throwing it out there. This is from this. Yeah. Don't get none of this on there. I was a full-time welder. Really didn't even know much about social media. Had some experience in the past with tribal law and different things like that. A young man goes missing in the oil fields, and some of the tribal members were the ones that actually asked me to help and to reach out to the family, and so I did. That was a calling, basically, that fell into my lap.
Since then, Lissa has participated in dozens of searches for missing men and women, cases she often finds through social media. In November 2017, she joined the search for Olivia.
Olivia is still missing. She's missing from Newtown.
Soon after this press conference, the relationship between Lissa and Matthew soured. A flood of accusations on social media followed.
She's been a thorn in our side for quite a while.
I'm not going to be disrespected by anybody.
There are people that come in and they just, they got no respect for the family or the wishes or what's going on. They try to take the whole thing over and be the savior.
I'm not no goddess or anything that says, hey, I'm in charge of all the missing and murdered people. No. But if you need to put a face, if someone needs to stand up and be the bad guy, to advocate and put the word out, and be the one to break those barriers, go ahead, I'll be the bad guy.
So, despite the tension and without the family's blessing, Lissa returned to Newtown in July 2018.
I've never met that young lady, but I can tell you, I knew enough about her from what I heard that there was only one thing that could come between her and her children, and that was death. And that's why I went back the second time to pursue the water. And she was recovered, thankfully.
We're here to remember our warrior women.
It's now been nearly 9 months since Olivia's body was recovered. The investigation is still ongoing. The cause of death is undetermined. The Lone Bear family hopes to use their experience to help others.
We already know the issues. We've documented these issues so that way we can address it later. At least putting some protocols in there to start addressing some of that stuff. There are also missing people right now. Joe Bruce's family, he's missing in Spirit Lake right now.
It's just like something you can't even explain. All you know is he's gone, and we know we probably won't find him for a while.
Across the U.S., there has been a growing recognition of missing and murdered Indigenous people, with legislation proposed in multiple states to mandate data reporting or increase tribal law enforcement funding. In Congress, the House of Representatives recently held its first hearing on the issue.
We must improve the data system related to murdered and missing Indigenous women to truly identify the scope of this problem.
But the promise of that can seem distant to a family like Joe Bruce's. For now, they're out searching.
Oh, we'll be back here tomorrow, definitely. We'll be digging through that rubble.
They've turned to social media.
We need to find him. If this was your guys' family member, you guys would want to be out there looking.
And they're working with Lissa.
She came down right away and they made like missing posters and stuff that we were able to hand out and everything. What other people say about her, we don't see it.
Joe Bruce has now been missing for 9 months.
We won't quit. We'll never quit. We'll look for him till we find him. I'm not going to give up on my son.